as to what this debate, what this regulatory aspects around higher technical education is all about, what are the challenges, what is the reality, how the legislation are being pushed, what impact it will have. So I open it to the panelists. Thanks a lot.
A client of mine on whether private universities can offer online education in India. And during the course of my research, I called up the IGNOU office, and the IGNOU office guys gave me a number. I called up the number, turns out it was the number of the National Disaster Management Authority. And later I thought that probably it was a sign that the Indian regulatory regime in education is headed for disaster management. Subsequently, also, a member of parliament during the sidelines of a parliamentary deposition commented to me that Winston Churchill had once said that, and I'm quoting this, when there is a great clamor that something should be done, that something will surely be done badly. That exactly has what perhaps happened to the UPA's reform agenda. The government came up with a slate of reforms. The industry was gung-ho. Everybody was expecting that overnight the regime of the higher education sector in India will transform, and we'll have Oxfords and MITs springing from nowhere. And what consequently happened was that there was a great mismatch of expectation and reality. Uh, Therefore, what we need to look today at is what should be the future of education. What should be the future of India's education regulation? India's education sector is currently facing a conundrum. We are looking at various aspects. Should there be quality or should there be quantity? Should we increase our gross enrollment ratio or should we look at increasing the quality of our education? Should we look at regulation or should we agree that this should be a free market economy and we should free up entry barriers and all the corresponding, regulatory regime that is there? We're also grappling with the question of should our students be empowered with specialized degrees like engineering, etc., or should we focus more on vocational education? Now, to my mind, the sector is not just over-regulated, it's overpopulated by regulators. Not only do you have AICTE, UGC, Distance Education Council, and so on and so forth, on top of all of that, you also have the Supreme Court and various high courts of the country. This session, therefore, as I stated first, should focus on the future of India's regulation. Firstly, and there are three questions that I would like to see this session answer, and obviously, I would like you guys to raise pertinent questions in that behalf. The first question is, what exactly should be regulated? Should we, at this point of time, like I said earlier, everything is regulated. We regulate fees, we regulate admission to colleges, we regulate appointments of vice chancellors to some extent. We also want to regulate the infrastructure that should be there in a college. We also want to regulate if AICTE could have its way. We also want to regulate what journals should engineering and other technical colleges should subscribe to. The last matter is currently pending before the Delhi High Court, so I'm not commenting any more on that. There are also two aspects of this situation that we need to be very mindful of. One, we cannot forget that India's socialist regime that permits or actually requires that there has to be some sort of affirmative action. We cannot deny that those who have, for historic or economic reasons, are unable to access education should have some sort of measures taken to ensure that they have access to quality education. The second aspect is that there has to be some sort of standard laid down. So the state's role or the regulator's role should be to lay down minimum standards so that we avoid the sort of situation that arose in Chhattisgarh, which eventually led to Supreme Court's judgment in the Yashpal case, which I know most technical and private university people are like, they've read it and they've, I think, read it more times than I have. Also, what we need to remember is that standard laying down is essential, and these are minimum standards. Minimum standards are essential to avoid a situation where you have a hole in a wall kind of university springing up and purporting to offer technical education or any kind of higher education. You also need to ensure that minimum standards are laid down so that students are not duped. Unfair practices in education is unfortunately a truth of the system, and this truth has in fact led the Supreme Court from, I think, 1990s onward and even prior to that, to lay down through various judgments about how commercialization of education cannot be permitted. The second issue that this session should focus on is what should be the future role of our regulators. Now, in the course of my few years as a lawyer, I have often come across, by reading the law, that there is a multiplicity of overlapping issues. Regulators themselves are not clear as to what their role is, what exactly are they regulating. The dispute of territory between AICTE and UGC led to a battle all the way up to Supreme Court, led to the judgment in the Bharatidasan University. This is a fairly recent judgment. Similarly, there are issues such as the following that I'm going to now enumerate before you. The first issue is the question of foreign universities. If you've read the law, then you also know that AICTE permitted foreign universities to enter into collaborations with Indian institutions in the field of technical education since 2005. The UGC stance, on the other hand, is ambivalent and unclear to say the very least. It is only now, in 2012 onwards, that they have even started to look at the whole question of foreign education. And prior to that, their stand was that we do not regulate foreign education. And they claim to be the primary body regulating higher education in this country. The other issues are issues surrounding, do some regulators actually have the power to regulate or not? For example, the DEC. This is my personal opinion, but to my mind, the Distance Education Council cannot be said to be a regulator of Indian distance education system. It is merely a statute of the IGNOU, and therefore it should regulate or restrict its role to the functioning of that particular university. I'm sure as most of you would know, that statutes are the authorities of a university are for that particular university. You cannot overarch your jurisdiction to become an all-India regulator. Unfortunately, this issue has not yet been decided by the courts, but I'm happy to inform you that this petition is also pending before the Supreme Court. The third and the last issue is, what should be the function of regulation? Should regulation work as a bottleneck, or should it advance the cause of education? Now, it would be foolish to assume that if there is regulation, it will only advance the cause of education. Every regulation, it's a necessary corollary, will act as some sort of hurdle. But it should act as a hurdle towards what? It should act as a hurdle towards ensuring that fly-by-night operators, people who want to dupe students, people who want to dupe their parents, do not get set up, or that minimum standards of education are enforced. The present regulatory regime stifles this kind of entrepreneurship in the field of education. I referred to you earlier the whole aspect that AICTE has mandated that technical institutions have to subscribe to certain journals. Now, I think that's an unfair ask. If my fee is also regulated, my admission criteria is also regulated. Aspects like admission schedule, should these be the subjects of regulation? Should the regulator not be acting in a commonsensical manner, in a very professional manner, and come out with one admission schedule that it sticks to? Not have one schedule up on its website, one schedule notified to vice chancellors of state technical universities, and etc., and then the battle going all the way over to Supreme Court and getting decided over there. The other aspect is that some of the regulation should be self-imposed. And this can be achieved clearly if there is an accreditation system which is free from political interference, which is not corrupt, which people are willing to trust. If today somebody tells me they're accredited by ABC authority, I do not know how much faith I'd be willing to put into it. So the accreditation regime that needs to come forward has to be something that is strong and that people have a belief in. Okay? So these are the issues that I hope that this session will answer. Now, when I started working as a young lawyer, somebody once told me that never end without a disclaimer. And I'd only like to end this by saying that the views expressed herein are personal, and I hope to learn from all of you because I'm far too young to tell you what needs to be done. Thank you so much.
Probably hit the hornet.